Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to MIPA's Wild Wednesday webinar, sponsored by Apothecary Products. We're delighted today to have a great seminar topic delivered by one of the industry's leaders, and I'm very excited to announce that we have a sponsor for our Wild Wednesday webinars. Apothecary Products is a great District 3 supplier, actually, with manufacturing in Michigan for over 30 plus years. They do a diverse line of lanyards, pillboxes, and earplugs. And to make it truly a District 3 company, they're headquartered in Minnesota. So they've got two of our regionals covered today. If you'd like to get CAS points for today's webinar, it is worth one CAS point from PPAI. If you know your PIN number, you can send it to me, paul@mipa.org. If you don't, contact your own regional executive director, and they can look that up for you and submit it for credits. You'll find that everybody is muted for this presentation, but you can post your questions at any time on the chat box to the left. Just type your questions in there, and as Mark's presenting, he'll answer your questions, and if he isn't paying attention, I'll give him a nudge. My name's Paul Kiewit. I'm the Executive Director of MIPA, the Michigan Promotional Professionals Association, and today I'm delighted to introduce Mark Graham. Mark is the founder of Right Sleeve, a very successful distributorship in Toronto, Canada. He's also one of the founders, along with his wife, of commonsku, a great social media interaction for people in the industry, as well as having some great customer relationship management and order management tools. Mark also is one of the founding chefs of Promo Kitchen, an industry group of young thought leaders who are organizing mentoring relationships and helping people grow and develop their business. Mark's got a lot of experience in social media. A lot of his success has come from knowing how to use social media, and he's going to share that expertise with us this afternoon with 5 no-nonsense ways that social media can grow your business. So, Mark, take it away.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's always so much fun to do a webinar alongside yourself. For those that don't know the history with Paul and myself, we go back several years, and Paul, you remain one of my favorites in the industry. So I love doing this, particularly when you're involved. So thank you for the warm introduction, and let's get started. So we are going to talk today about social media and explore 5 of the no-nonsense ways that this can grow and impact your business. There's probably 50 examples that I could give you, but for the sake of our time today, I just really wanted to go deep into 5 of them. So my intent is to go and speak for anywhere between 40, 45 minutes, and then hopefully we'll have some time for questions. As Paul said, if I am not paying attention to your questions as they come in, Paul, you can certainly interrupt me. And if it does make sense, then I might, if it's interrupting the flow, I might ask that we delay them until the end. So why don't we see how it goes? So let's get started. So as Paul, thank you so much for that very kind introduction. As Paul was saying, my name is Mark Graham. Here's a picture of me because you can't see me effectively speaking to myself right now on this webinar. I have been in the industry since 1997, so it's hard to believe that I'm coming up to almost 2 decades in the business. And I started as a distributorship, and I then, a few years ago, then founded a software company with a very, very strong social media element to it, as well as CRM and order management. And that company is called commonsku. And the reason I mention this is that I, as I say here in the 3rd point, really understand your pain. Each and every one of you, whether you're a supplier or a distributor, I understand exactly what it's like to be you. I know what it's like to deal with end customers. I know what it's like to deal with suppliers. I know what it's like to hire staff. I know what it's like to run a promotional products business and how frustrating and how energizing it can be. So every experience that I share with you today from a social media perspective is based on the fact that I am one of you. So keep that in mind as we go through it. And I'm also going to give you a number of examples that are very specific to my experience in the industry. And a number of examples are actually drawn from my businesses. And I'm happy to share the experiences with you and certainly hope that you learn from them. So let's start off with three things that I want everyone who is attending the webinar right now to keep in mind as groundwork for this presentation. So number one is that the immutable law of sales, at least according to me, I know that I've probably stolen this from someone else, but is that people buy from people they like. Sales is actually a pretty easy thing when you think about it. At the end of the day, it really comes down to buying products and services from people that you identify with and that you have a shared value set with, or people buy from people they like. So that's the first thing I want you to keep in mind. Number two is that our biggest challenge in this industry, and again, this is coming from someone that's been at it for almost 2 decades, is that buyers, whether it's a distributor or an end client, is they struggle to see the difference between us. It's very, very challenging to see and honor the difference between two distributors that are selling from the exact same white labeled website or the exact same SanMar catalog or the exact same leads catalog. It's very, very challenging for them to say, well, hey, how is Joe any different than Larry? That's a challenge in this industry, and one that I am looking to address as we go through this. And finally, number three, last but not least, is buying behavior. People today, and I think even as it was many decades ago, trust their friends more than they trust their institutions. So the reason I spend the time discussing this framework at the beginning is that I find I do these presentations with a mix of people in the audience. And usually most people are rather relatively new or somewhat intimidated by the idea of social media because they feel that they don't have what it takes or they don't have the time to explore social media. And which is why I like to start off with these 3 points in making everyone feel comfortable with what I'm about to get into. And I think that everyone can identify with these. And the wonderful thing about social media is that everything I'm about to talk about with social media addresses and pays respect to each of these 3 points. So let's get into this. So market positioning is the first of the 5 no-nonsense tips that I want to explore with you. I'm about to show you a video, and I'll set this up before we go into this. This is a video that we produced at my distributorship, Right Sleeve, several years ago when we were first starting to get into social media. And one of the things that we recognized was that it was challenging for buyers to see the difference between us, as per one of my points that I just went over. And what I wanted to do was use the power of social media to tell the story of the difference between us and everyone else. And since social media really values great content and original content and interesting content, we thought that we could have some fun with this in order to make our brand stand out. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this video that we shot, and it's called Trunk Slammers or Stop Trunk Slammers. I've shown this video on a few occasions beforehand, so some of you may have seen it. If you have, then enjoy it again. But let me show it to you here, and we will visit back in about 2 minutes. Just hang on one sec. Let's see, Paul, did I get this right? Everyone should be able to see this in about 2 seconds.
All
All right. Hopefully people can now see my screen again. I just had to switch screens. So we produced that video a couple of years ago, and we spent time writing and scripting this. And in the in the meantime, the video has been viewed thousands and thousands of times. It was a great success as a marketing tool for us, and we also sent it out. Sorry, here, get my toggles here. We had sent it out to a number of our customers and prospects as a way to establish a differentiation point. And what it also did is it also established a great sense of company culture and what it was that we were all about. So we were a professional company and are a professional company, but also one that was not afraid to have fun and also not afraid to be different. So here are some of the points that I want you to think about as you digest that video. Social media really favors people that produce good, original, interesting content, first and foremost. So what we learned from this, and with the success that we had with this particular campaign, is that it was important not to be afraid to be different. Number two is that even conservative institutions are run by people that like to laugh. We at our distributorship certainly sell to a number of fun and wacky urban customers in our market in Toronto, but we also sell to a number of people that are in financial institutions, legal institutions, and quite conservative. But at the end of the day, people remember this kind of stuff. And there's also if you think about social, you've got the root word in social media is social. So every one of those business people are also consumers as well. So that is something that we really tapped into. And by us not being afraid to be different, we were able to produce content that was highly original. And then, of course, remember the root word in social media is social. So let's move on to point number two. Thought leadership is an area that is, I think that all of us would agree, is a really important marketing and sales strategy in general. And this is certainly something that would have held true many, many years ago as well, or at least I would say from the beginning of time. What's really interesting about social media, is that social media gives you access to a platform that allows for your content to spread quickly. And if you are someone that has got something important to say and you've got some interesting information that you want to share, then by establishing yourself as a thought leader in social media, it can be a really wonderful winning combination. So I'm going to give you an example, one that I've used before, but one of my favorite examples from another distributorship, ePromos, out of New York City. And I'll read this to you here, that this is a blog post that they wrote a little while ago entitled "Cream Filling is Overrated Anyway." And the post is very, very short. It's one short paragraph, and they've got some strong visuals here. And let me read this out to you. Continuing last week's edible advertising trend, here we have a clever Prison Break cake promo that was sent out to media companies and critics. Each one of these ordinary-looking cakes contains a concealed message baked into it, a metal file imprinted with information about the upcoming season premiere. The old bake a file into the cake trick might not work in prisons anymore, but it's still as fresh as ever when it comes to promoting TV shows, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, there's some amusing visuals here of the file with Prison Break returns 19th of November on TV3. And then, of course, it's then photographed while stuck into the cake. So this is a great example of a distributor that is using these case studies as a way to demonstrate their thought leadership as a promotional products creative distributorship. And I think it's really telling that this is a company that has used a blog. Now, of course, there's many other ways that you can establish thought leadership and many other platforms, certainly on Facebook, certainly Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube. There are so many that are out there, but for the sake of being laser focused in this presentation, I wanted to highlight the fact that this was a distributor that used their blog a way to establish themselves as a thought leader and a way for them to share information. And the example that I like to give in this case study is that social media is also something that is highly favored and highly indexed by search platforms or search engines like Google. And when you're producing original content in the form of, say, a blog, or even if you're writing it on Google Plus or on Twitter, that becomes something that is indexed favorably by Google. So if you're a customer who is now searching for promotional products, if you work at ePromos, the ePromos blog content, since it is new, it's updated, and it's fresh daily, is the kind of thing that is going to be favored by Google versus all of these other generic websites. And then even if the person who is searching for promotional products finds those generic websites in addition to this blog, this is something that's highly original and doesn't look like every other website that's out there that's got the same stress toy on the front page. So it's a great point in terms of differentiating yourself from everyone else out there. So again, that feeds back to that theme of differentiation. So the points that I want to make here is that stories sell. Number 2 is that content is the new cold call. This is a term that I have borrowed from my good friend Bobby Lihue, who is also a very thought-provoking social media speaker in the industry, and he is also one of the principals at a distributorship called Robin Promotions in Oklahoma, and so someone that you can certainly check out. But the idea of content is the new cold call is a very interesting concept in that today's distributors or today's suppliers that have got original thought-provoking content are the ones that are cutting through the noise. And when you cut through the noise, it means that now you have a much warmer cold call and a much warmer interaction with your prospect and your customer, as opposed to just being the guy who calls up and says, "Hi, can I talk to you about promotional products?" These companies have a tremendous advantage over you because they have published their content online. And the final thing I'd say here is that not only do stories sell, but stories are much harder to commoditize. Again, going back to one of those framework points that I made at the beginning, that buyers have a really hard time differentiating between two distributors that sell the exact same pen, for instance. However, if you have a story, like I just demonstrated with ePromos, then that is a much, much harder thing to copy and commoditize. That's your content and your information. So let's move on to point number 3. And Paul, forgive me, I can't see the questions on my screen here. Are there any questions that have popped up that would be appropriate for me to answer at this point?
When you showed the Trunk Slammer video, a listener from Phoenix asked how you sent it out. You say you sent it out. Do you send it out by email, post it to YouTube, all of the above, social media? How did you distribute the Trunk Slammer video?
Great question. Thank you so much for that question. So when we first produced the video, we uploaded it to YouTube. And of course, YouTube is its own bona fide social network, so you get traction there. But then, of course, with that YouTube link, we then cross-published that everywhere. So when I say everywhere, we're also very active on a number of other social properties as well as websites. So what we did was that we published it on Facebook, my personal page, as well as our company page. We also posted it on Twitter, again, our company Twitter, as well as my personal Twitter, as well as the individual accounts of the people that worked at the distributorship. They were proud and they thought it was a great video, so they also shared it on their own personal networks, thus leading to a great viral element to it. We also embedded the YouTube link. YouTube gives you a code that allows you to embed in a blog as well as on a website. So we actually created a landing page that was a right sleeve landing page that we sent people to, but the YouTube video was embedded inside it. We also put it on our blog, and this was before, I'm trying to think where else we would have put it. Then more traditionally, we then also used it as a key part in our sales and marketing when we reached out to via email. So if I was emailing a prospect, we would say, and oh, by the way, take a look at our video that shows you what right sleeve is not. So that was a fun little take on it, and it really worked well because it gave our customers a sense that we weren't like those other people that we were gently making fun of. Of course, it was all tongue in cheek, but it cut through the noise. So I hope that answered the question. And of course, if there are any questions, I'll have my contact information that I will post at the end of this, and you can email me directly. Paul, any other questions, or should it be best to continue on?
You may continue.
Thank you for that question, and please keep them coming. So number 3 is lead generations and recommendations. This is something that is very, very powerful on social media, but again, you will also note that lead generation and recommendations is not a new thing by any stretch. So if you think back to what I was talking about at the beginning in terms of how people buy from people they like, and also that people trust their friends more than they trust big institutions, this is a great example, one of many, many examples I could give about how social media has become one of the most effective lead generation and recommendation engines of all time, simply because of the eyeballs that people will have here. So let me give you a specific tangible example, which is we'll put this into context for you. So I'm showing you here a screenshot of a tweet that was posted on Twitter from someone by the name of Sell Guru, who posted, "Want some promo swag, need a referral to a good one, and go." So he posted this, let's say for all intents and purposes at 9 o'clock in the morning on whatever day he posted it. And so Sell Guru now has several thousand people that follow him. So here's what happened within the course of literally 60 minutes. Sell Guru talked to Right Sleeve. He's amazing. And Right Sleeve is, for those people that are new to Twitter, is what's called a handle. So it means that is the handle that our company uses in order to contact us on Twitter. So, and that's when people reference you, that's what they go and point out. Unbelievable tweets, Sell Guru, Right Sleeve, of course. Michelle tweets, Sell Guru, I will say Right Sleeve too, but I am totally biased as I live with one of their staff. Rochelle tweets, Sell Guru, go with Right Sleeve, they are one of a kind. And then the final tweet is, Sell Guru coming back to say, Right Sleeve, I hear you do promo gear, follow me, let's chat. So from a tangible business success story, this had really all the hallmarks of something that was really quite extraordinary, in that not only did we get the business because this person had gone out onto Twitter and had said, hey, friends, who should I go contact about promotional products? And a number of his friends that he trusts and are part of his core network had recommended Right Sleeve. So that cuts through the noise for him, and he was in our office 24 hours later with an order for an event that he was planning. So not only was there that element, which was really exciting, but what made it even more spectacular is that this conversation was not happening one-to-one. It was happening on a stage where thousands of people were able to interact and see this. So if you think about this, the wonderful thing about Twitter, and also the same with other social properties, is that when Rochelle or when Michelle or when Brianna, for instance, are tweeting these recommendations, all of their followers, and each of these particular people are followed by thousands of people, are now able to see that our company is being favorably recommended in front of this, or as it relates to promotional products. So this kind of thing happens on a fairly regular basis for Right Sleeve, because we've spent a lot of time investing in these relationships and investing in content on the social platforms, so that people are then, they know about us, we're visible, so that they then go and recommend us, which is a great, great form of business, as I think we all know, whether you're using social media or not. So that's probably one of my most favorite examples of all time, since it's actually a pretty basic one. So social media is the ultimate word of mouth engine. I put in something here called the F factor. Friends are more powerful than institutions. Number three is there's a great website called trendwatching.com. That is where I have, that's actually where I found the term, the F factor. And if you go check out trendwatching.com, they talk a lot about social media as well as a number of other up and coming consumer and enterprise trends. And I just find it a really interesting website for just coming up with new ideas and seeing what's going on out there in the web. And then number four, and again, pretty basic stuff, but really important on social media, is giving your friends and your people in your network a solid reason to talk about you. So social media, as I've said a couple of times throughout the presentation, is a network and a medium that strongly favors interesting, original, unique, entertaining content. And if you've got that, then people will talk about you. If you don't have that, if you're the guy who is just going out and promoting 99-cent white t-shirt specials, and mind you, there might be a market for that of people who find that interesting, but for the most part, people don't view that as being as exciting or as interesting on a social network. So if you give your friends a reason to talk about you, then people will talk about you in an authentic and meaningful way, and that means so much on social media. All right, I've got point number 4 of 5 is market research. Market research is, of course, the foundation of any successful salesperson's, whether they're a distributor or a supplier, is the foundation of any successful salesperson's portfolio. And often the best salespeople are the ones that are really good at market research, and they know how to identify opportunities by researching their customers and prospects. So I'm going to give you another tangible example here of where this has worked very, very well for us. So under the guise of market research, social platforms like Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, and even blogs, if you've got customers that have a blog, all of this stuff is very easy to find with a quick search of either Google or a search on that particular social media's search engine. So here's an example using a blog from a customer that also maintains a blog. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you here, but this is an example of writing about startup swag, effective marketing, or a waste of pens. And this person wrote, and I'll focus in on some of the high points here. There are some items I just won't take at conferences anymore because I know I won't use them and I don't want them to go to waste. They include t-shirts. No matter how nice the design, I'm just not a t-shirt kind of girl. Luggage tags. I have one. I don't see why I would need more than that. Buttons. I used to keep my awesome Say Yeah buttons on my laptop case until one stabbed me. Now I have an aversion to buttons. Pens. Unless it lights up or has a spinning top or records my voice notes, I already have pens. So what's interesting about this is that here is an end user that I follow and I get her updates on her blog. And I'm not going to go and read this part right here. I won't give away the I don't give away the secrets just yet. But it's to give you the context. So here's an end user that is writing a blog post talking about her experiences with promotional products or swag at an event that she's at. And she's talking about all the things that she likes and she dislikes. So to some extent, this is the proverbial silver platter or taking candy from a baby, in that now she's spelling out exactly her wishes and desires and her opinions about the products that we as promotional products distributors and suppliers sell. So I pick up the phone, I call Aaron, I say, Aaron, this is a great post. Would love to chat with you a little bit about your upcoming event. And you know what? I'm going to steer clear of t-shirts and luggage tags and buttons. But you know what? Here are some other things that might be really interesting. And oh, by the way, great blog post. I loved it. Thanks so much for writing that. It makes me a better salesperson, or it makes me a better partner of yours. So, and then of course, that is a wonderful way to strengthen the relationship even further. So the points that I want you to bring home here is that blogs, Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, can be an invaluable source for sales presentations. Number 2, customers love it when you reference their work. Relationship building 101 and great content for your own blogging initiatives. If there's anyone that is on the call right here that is interested in writing. And you may or may not already have a blog, but for those people that do maintain a blog, it still remains a really great way to establish yourself as a thought leader. And if you're following someone else's blog and you have read an end user's account of promotional products, you could spin that into your own article that you could write on your own blog and talk about your spin on this, and then bring that person in and link back to them. So that's maybe a little bit more advanced, but the point is that if you're not following your customers on social media, then you're making a big mistake, and it's a huge lost opportunity. So I hope most people are doing that, and if you aren't, then that's a great first step. Paul, how are we doing on questions? Are we okay? I want to make sure that I'm getting to everyone.
Yes, you're doing fine. No questions at the moment.
Okay, great. I'm going to give you another example here of what I call cold calling 2.0, and I've got another video that I'm going to show you here. This is the last of the videos I'm going to show. And this is an example of something that has to do with getting in front of a customer in a creative and original way that doesn't involve traditional cold calling. So we're always looking for interesting hooks and angles at our company. And one real live example, which I have given supported in every one of the points I've made so far, is this example with a Facebook campaign that was being run with Mini in Canada. And they launched a campaign about how many people could you fit into a Mini Countryman. And we thought that that was really exciting. And this was a company that we wanted to go and do some work with. And we said, well, they've gone out on social media to go and promote this particular campaign. So why don't we respond on social media and do something in an interesting way? So without further ado, I'm going to show you the video that we shot, and then what we then used as our response to this particular campaign. So let's get over here. That. That's going to put in a different link here. All right, let's get back to my screen here. Sorry. So we shot that video within the course of about 2 hours. We had it finished by the end of the day. We shot it on a very inexpensive Canon camera, and then edited it in Microsoft Movie Maker. And then we then posted that back to their Facebook page. And what was really interesting here is, what was really interesting is that we got great response from many that not only shared our video, they obviously had lots and lots of people that were followers of theirs, and we got their attention. What was interesting is that we didn't promote that we were a promotional products company. We didn't say that we wanted their business. We just simply responded to what they had. And of course, the background that I should have mentioned at the beginning is that we have a Mini Cooper as a company car. So we wanted to also showcase the fact that we were able to fit our whole staff into the car and have some fun with it. And then because the content was interesting and entertaining, then we knew that there would be a chance of it going viral and then also getting their attention. So the long story short on this is that we had first of all, we were tied in to a campaign that they were running, and that was something that was important to them. We then produced a response that was creative, non-salesy, and original that got their attention and also allowed them to share it. And then number 3 is it then got their attention so that they reached out and said, hey, we'd love to learn a little bit more about you. And then it got us right to the front of the line when it came to pitching their business. And they've since become a significant customer in recent years. So it's a great example of how using social media is a great way to generate significant sales with significant size customers. So I always like to make that point because I think a lot of people that are new or intimidated by social media will often dismiss it as something that only young people do, or only people that aren't serious about business do, or that they waste their time all day on it, and that the reality couldn't be further from the truth and particularly with some of the examples that I've given here today, where we've been able to tie this back to concrete financial ROI in a significant way. So I often like to say that cold calling is a dying sales tool. So the example here is, how do you cut through the noise by offering something that's a little bit different so you can get yourself to the front of the line? Facebook is the new telephone in terms of connecting and interacting with people. And then I like to say, what's your social media elevator pitch? What if you were to pitch your company using social media, what would that look like? How would you differentiate yourself from all the other people that are out there on the web? So I've got one more example here, and then I want to just give this a quick wrap up, and then of course if there's any questions at the end, I'd be happy to answer them. But I'm just looking at my time, and it looks like I'm going to be right on time here. So the final thing that I want to share with you is that all of the examples that I've given you here are great examples of social media within consumer-based websites. So Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, blogging, YouTube, those are all consumer-facing social media websites. And of course, social media got its start in the consumer web, and it continues to be incredibly relevant and hot. One of the other things that I wanted to share with you is that social media is now catching on as a very hot topic within the workplace, within the enterprise. And what that specifically means is that now there are applications that are out there, and full disclosure, what I'm about to show you right here is a screenshot of an example from commonsku, which is the software application that I'm also involved with. But I just wanted to share this with you as a way to kind of give you a sense as to how social media is now helping people within companies to connect with each other. So the example, as I say here, is a screenshot from commonsku. And the example here is that that software is now being created inside companies that allow for those companies to run themselves as though they were a social network. But instead of the videos and the content on these news feeds being personal related, like family pictures to a trip to the Dominican Republic, or a funny cat video, all the content in these social enterprise systems are all around mission critical business activity within the company. And all of this information is system generated and allows for the entire company to connect and collaborate and share with one another around actionable, real business data. And the other thing about social media inside the enterprise is that the way that these software applications are designed is with visuals and design being very, very important, and the philosophy is such that it's not difficult to run those systems. Here's another example. So I've just showed you what a typical news feed would look like. Here's another example of how these social platforms within the enterprise are really helping connect distributors and suppliers within the promotional products industry. Here's an example of someone that went on to commonsku, which is the social platform that only connects distributors and suppliers. And this distributor said, looking for a barbecue set in a golf bag style. Does anyone know of a supplier who has them? And then the responses are really interesting in terms of how people are able to come back, recommend people within the industry. And then this is contributing to significant business value, where someone now says that this request actually leads to an order, which is really exciting way that social media is now starting to deliver significant results inside the enterprise. So in this case, she got an order for $13,000. So that wasn't so bad for using social media to connect within the enterprise. One other example before I finish here is that suppliers are also using a platform like commonsku to go and post case studies and ideas and actionable case studies that allow for people to be better at their jobs and to learn about what's hot and what's new in the industry. And then what happens from here is that people then go and comment on this, and then they say, this is a great idea. I'm now going to go and present this to my customer. So the point that I want to get across here is that the principles of social media are now alive and well in the enterprise as a way to not only connect colleagues with one another inside a company, but also the entire supply chain in a way that is fun, friendly, but also incredibly business oriented. So I will leave you with that. But that, of course, is commonsku, which is a partner, of course, of MIPA's and several other industry regionals as well. So I'm going to end it off on this, that if you remember anything from today, I want you to remember these three things and these three things alone. To be successful in a social selling environment, you need to possess these three traits. Hopefully all of them, and not just one, two of them. Hopefully all of them. And they are, you need to be, number one, visible. Visible and visibility is incredibly important. That if you're not at the party and you're not on the platforms, then you are as good as invisible. So it's like being at a trade show and not having a booth. Number two is that in order to be successful on social media, you need to be helpful. So once you're visible and you've shown up at the party, if you're not helpful, then you are likely going to be frustrated with poor results. This is really, really important. And the reason I spend the time on this is that there's a lot of people that get onto social media seeing it as a great direct sales channel, and they get on and they sell, and they talk about themselves the whole time, and no one wants to hear from that person. So helpful people are the ones that really cut through the noise. And number three and final, in order to be successful in social media, it's my humble opinion based on the experiences that I've had and learning from so many other people in social, is that you need to be interesting. If your content is not interesting, if your content is not unique, if your content looks like everyone else's, if your content is simply boring, then doesn't really make a lot of sense to spend time in social media, because that stuff will be ignored. And you'll walk away from a session like this and say, I'm frustrated because no one interacted with me on my content. So those are the three things. So number one is visibility. Number two is, are you helpful? And number three is, are you interesting? As promised, my contact information is Mark Graham, and you can email me at any time at mark@commonsku.com. And then for those people that are on Twitter, my Twitter handle is HeyMarkGraham. And if you forget all of this, I'm actually, like a lot of people, pretty easy to find. If you just Google me and either type in Right Sleeve or in commonsku, you'll get right to my information. So thank you so much. We're right at the 47-minute mark here. I love talking about this, and Paul, thank you so much for the invite, and I hope that I was able to help some people today.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. We do have a couple of questions. One is, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn? You haven't mentioned it. The person asked, is it too corporate? I know in my presentations, I highly recommend it as a prospecting tool. Are you using LinkedIn much, and what are your thoughts about LinkedIn?
That's a great question. Thank you for whoever asked that. At the beginning, I gave the example. I made the joke that I could give 50 examples of how to be successful on social media, and I just focused on the 5 for the sake of for the sake of time. LinkedIn is a wonderful network to interact with. Where we've seen success on LinkedIn is having a complete profile allows for you to be searchable and visible by people. It's a great prospecting tool, as you say, Paul. If you're looking to go and sell someone at IBM, for instance, in their head office in New York, you can go into their advanced search in LinkedIn and go and search all the people who work at IBM in marketing in a particular geography. And that is just incredible information. And LinkedIn provides that for free. There are upgrades that you can purchase in LinkedIn that give you introductions, for instance, or the ability to see more information on third-party relationships, for instance. But most people that I know actually don't even pay for those tools. So I find that LinkedIn, if you were to really think about it in terms of one thing that is special about it, I would say that their distinct competitive advantage as a social network is in research and prospecting. So I suppose that if I was to fit this into anything, it would be, remember I had talked about in my third point, the idea of market research, and I gave that example of the blogger who had written about her experience with promotional products at a conference, that I would put LinkedIn in the same category. So what I mean specifically about that is, if you've got a prospect or a customer, I always look at them on LinkedIn. I always look at where they went to school. I looked at where they worked at to see if there are any things that are that we have in common, and that always loosens things up when prospecting or when connecting with them in person. So I would not want to give you the impression that LinkedIn is not important. Critically important. I would say it's, again, in my experience, I would say that LinkedIn is extremely powerful for distributors who are looking for end users. I think LinkedIn is fundamentally confusing and awkward for suppliers. The reason being is that lots of distributors are reluctant to connect with suppliers because of a fear that they're going to go steal their end users, even though you can hide your contacts. Another thing is that some people don't like to be connected with their suppliers on those public social networks because end users can then go and see those connections. So that's where suppliers, it's a little bit more of a gray area to be active on LinkedIn because of that particular reason. But for distributors, it is a slam dunk.
Great. Tim Parks asked that speaking of LinkedIn, is the free version okay, or should they pay for the upgrade?
Tim, thanks for the question. As I said before, I don't, unless you are a power user, I think that you can get away with the free version. The advantages that the paid version gives you, at least the last time I checked, is that it gives you the ability to email within LinkedIn. So if you're, let's say, searching for a prospect and you're not connected with that prospect as a first connect, then their contact information is not visible to you. If you're a paid subscriber, you can send what's called an in-mail, and that allows you to send a LinkedIn email to that person that says, "Hi, I'm Tim Parks. I just saw you on LinkedIn, and I'd love to talk to you about this particular product or this project." And that cuts through the noise. Now, there's no guarantee that person is going to respond to you, but it just gives you more visibility. So I would say that that's probably the biggest benefit of paying. The other piece that I have had success with on LinkedIn, and something else to consider, is that LinkedIn is an amazing recruiting network, and you pay for that. But I have found that LinkedIn, that it is a very effective and efficient recruiting tool. So you can buy ads on LinkedIn for jobs. So if you're looking for a new sales manager or you're looking for a new sales rep, regardless if you're a distributor or a supplier, you can post that, and it costs, I think, around $300 for a job listing that will be available for 30 days. And I've done probably 5 or 6 of them in the last couple of years and always had great response. So that's another thing to think about in terms of a paid feature on LinkedIn.
Right. We also have a question from Jess Nelson from Grand Forks. So when we were talking about it being cold here, I'm sure they have an opinion of what cold really is. Wants to know what your opinion is on which platform is better for distributors, Instagram or Pinterest?
Great question. And Paul, the next time we do this, you have to give me 2 hours, because then I can get into Pinterest and Instagram as well, which are 2 of my favorite platforms. So I want to make it clear to everyone who is on this call here that if you ever want to pick my brain about other social media platforms that I didn't get a chance to talk about today, then just email me and we can set up a call. I'm going to offer you my personal experience. I believe that of the 2, Instagram is my favorite by a hair. And the reason being is that and much like Pinterest, of course, is a very visual application as well, but Pinterest is all about content that already exists on the web, which is great, but I've always found that you get, or at least we have always got, a better response with original photography. And of course, that's what Instagram is all about. So it's all about taking a photograph on your Android or your iPhone and then putting a neat filter through it and then going and posting it on your Instagram feed for all of the people to go and see. And then usually those photographs look really nice because they've got this nice filter on them. I can tell you that on the right sleeve side of our business, we've got a youth and retail side to our business, and we've got a very active Instagram feed on there where we'll go and post like neat promotional products that we have just produced, or we'll go and shoot photos of what we're doing around the office. And it's a really wonderful insight into your company. And Instagram is so darn easy because literally it's entirely mobile. So you just have your mobile phone, you take a picture, within 2 clicks you've now uploaded this photograph, and it's a very lightweight and quick application. So it's a wonderful way to differentiate yourself. And if you're creative, like a creative person, and particularly someone with a decent eye, then Instagram can give you stunning results. And there's lots of people within the promotional products industry who do a very good job with Instagram. So I would say if you were to spend your time on one of them and only one, I would say Instagram. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Once again, thanks everyone for attending today's Wild Wednesday webinar. Special thanks to Apothecary Products for sponsoring this series. Again, they're a Michigan supplier with 30 years of providing lanyards, pillboxes, earplugs, and a great variety of products. Apothecary Products makes this series possible. Also, Mark, thank you so much. I always enjoy your presentation so very much, and you provided us with a lot of great information. For those of you that want CAS points, if you know your PIN number, you can send me an email and I'll send that over to PPAI. If you don't know your PIN number, contact your regional Association's executive director, and they can look that up for you. Next month, on the same date, because of the way February only has 28 days, so Wednesday, March 26th, we have Creating Custom, all about what's involved in having custom products designed and made special. Going to be delivered by a couple of people from Gemline and their global resourcing group. That's on March 26th. This presentation has been recorded, and as soon as it's rendered, I will be posting it up on the MIPA Facebook page. So if you came in late and want to hear the whole recording, it'll be available there. I'll also be posting it on MIPA's Wild Wednesday webinar webpage. Wow, that's a lot of webs and W's, which is MIPA.org, and look for the Wild Wednesday tab. I'll be posting it there where you can listen to it as well. Once again, thank you very much for attending today's Wild Wednesday webinar, and hope to see you next month. Thanks again, Mark. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.